of sports. I played soccer like my whole life, pretty much. I
Mm,
played college soccer my first year, and then by the second year, I kind of just slowed things down and just try to focus on my career. Right now, I'm working at MetLife Stadium as guest services, so I'm basically scanning tickets, or I'm working like the aisles of games and pretty
mm.
much watching all events when I'm there. Just recently got an internship with the New York Jets, which is exciting.
That's
It's a
awesome.
good start. Thank
Nah,
you.
yeah, congrats, man. Nah, I was super happy for you when I saw that, man. Congrats
Yeah.
again. And it was a great experience for me as well, volunteering for FIFA. I mean, I met a lot of great people, and I'm sure you've met a lot of great people as well at MetLife. I mean, I kind of like to call it my second home, because it is obviously the stadium of the New York Jets. But I mean, just going there to every match and seeing the players that we saw there, and being get a little bit into the finals in the second too. I know Adam definitely wants to get into that. But yeah, no, it was just a great experience overall. But Kendrick, I want to ask you too, what was your favorite game specifically that you attended during the tournament?
Uh, I attended quite a few games, but I think the best game that I had, like I'm a Real Madrid fan, and
Mm,
I went to their game, and I also worked one of the games for them. But the
mm,
game I went to, they happened to lose 4-0 to PSG, which wasn't
yeah.
the best as a spectator and as a fan. But I would say the best game experience I had when I went, it had to be the Palmeiras game against Al Hilal at MetLife.
Mm,
I would have said the Philly
yeah.
one, but I was more kind of like right by their fan base, and like
Mm.
it's just like different. Like South Americans, like their whole fan base is just passion, like pure passion. So when I was at the game, like you felt like they were standing for the whole game, chanting different chants, passionate, yelling, like was just so happy when they scored. They had 2 goals and they needed that game, which was a big game for them to win. And they won 2-0, I believe.
Mm.
And I think that game was the best because you just saw like you felt like the whole vibes from like their fan base. And when I was at the Madrid game, I felt that too, but it was way more from the South American side that they just like bled like green, like they just really felt it compared to any other fan base.
Nah, seriously, all the Palmeiras fans, they showed out every game at MetLife, and just in general, you saw it across the earlier games in the tournament. But they put a nice run together, which was surprising for most people because we had these European powerhouses in the same divisions. And I went to a couple crazy games as well. I remember the FC Porto game versus Al Hilal.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Al Hilal versus Palmeiras. That FC Porto, it was a draw too, but it was the
Yeah.
craziest draw you would ever see because it was a 4-4. There were 8 goals scored in that game, and unfortunately, Al Hilal didn't advance into the knockout stage. But every single one of these games, after I would say like the first week, like it meant something. But I think also another game that we also need to talk about is obviously the finals. Man, Adam, I'm gonna start with you here because I know you're a huge Chelsea fan. Big props
Yeah.
to Chelsea. You mean you guys shocked the world. You guys officially become world champions. What was your reaction to that? Seeing all that unfold.
I mean, I know I mentioned to you going into the tournament. I mean, it might have been a little bit of hopeful thinking, but I said Chelsea has a really good chance at winning it. And then as soon as they started adding players the entire tournament, starting with Liam Delop at the beginning, then he made an instant impact. Then getting Joao Pedro towards the end of the tournament, and then I think he had a goal in the semifinal, and then he had one in the final as well. But I mean, the thing that stood out to me the most in the final is like for some people, Cole Palmer's kind of luster had kind of like faded a little bit towards the end of the Premier
Mm,
League season, but he really showed like why he is a top player still. And just like his football IQ just really, really showed up on the pitch. Like you could just see like the subtlest movements making such a big difference to just then get like wide open opportunities inside the box. I think it was either the first goal or the third goal or the first or the second goal he scored, where he just made like the subtlest little move to the right, and then all of a sudden he had this giant lane to the left to then go that way and
mm.
then get the goal on the left side of the net. Um,
Nah,
yeah, I
yeah.
mean, no, and yeah, no, Joe Pedro looks like a perfect player to play next to Palmer for many, many years to come now. So, and then they've
Mm.
got I think it's the young Brazilian. I forget his name right off the top of my head. He's like
It's
17 years
about
old. Yes, yes, yes,
yeah.
yes. So they're already like one of the youngest teams in the world, and now they're looking like they could be a title contender next year. And I mean, I love to see it as a Chelsea fan. You got to get through Arsenal, Liverpool, and Manchester City's rounding back into form. So I mean, it's gonna be fun to watch those top four teams, and there's still a few more teams that'll definitely make some noise as well.
Nah, yeah, it was super inspiring to see Chelsea pull that off, especially live. Like nobody at first, nobody gave Chelsea, the benefit of the doubt. PSG came off, rolling against Real Madrid, but in my opinion, they might have been a little, too butthurt over that win, and Chelsea just took advantage of that. And obviously, like we said, Cole Palmer coming up huge with 2 goals, and he also won, best player of the tournament as well. So that was great to see. But also, Kendrick, I know, you also went to Fanatics Fest as well. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, sadly, I was not able to go due to the FIFA tournament, actually, too. But I mean, I guess a little bit of a bonus here as well. I mean, who did you meet? What did you see there?
I saw a little bit of everybody. It was really fun. When I got the opportunity, I went with my girlfriend.
Nice.
We found tickets. We went to plan just for one day, like a Saturday. She had got me a photo op with Odell Beckham, and I was like, yeah,
Nice.
perfect. And then I saw there was a deal for Friday, so I said, why not go both days? And a player I really wanted to see to get my picture with was my favorite player right now on the Giants, Malik Neighbors, and he was sold out for a
Okay.
lot of the photo ops. And then to happen that week that I was purchasing the tickets, it got reopened, so there was photo ops available. So I took the opportunity. I was like, yeah. So I have here like some pictures. I met Odell with this one. Got Odell.
That's
Tough.
awesome. That's
Um,
awesome. Love it.
got Neighbors in this one, and
That's
it
tough.
was a really cool experience. I had the opportunity to also meet Randy Orton,
Okay.
Goat.
All right. Nice.
Goat.
and then for any UFC fans, I got to sign Alex Pereira for free. You know, he
Okay.
was just doing
Nice.
signings and photo ops there for free, which was huge lines. But I liked it because you got to kind of it was a whole experience. You got to talk to any your favorite athletes who were all walking around the building. Like you kind of had to walk 360, like just to see who was coming on your right, on your left, because there was like it was Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Parsons. You got a lot of the streamers that were streaming the event. Like if you guys are familiar with Lacey, Black Boy Max, like a lot of them were there and they were attending. So it was a bunch of people, just huge crowds. And then LeBron was at on Saturday. He arrived on Saturday, and it was
Yeah.
huge crowds of people.
Were
I
you?
even got to tell Odell. I said, how about you try coming back to the Giants? And he gave me a shrug. He was like, I don't mind. And then he was doing those podcasts, and they asked him, and he said he's more than welcome to come.
Nah, yeah, I saw that. Were you there actually the day also that KD got traded, or was that a different day?
That was the Sunday. I was just there
Oh,
Friday to
okay.
Saturday,
Got
but
you.
yeah, and like I was saying, the lines for like Alex Pereira, like they had told me, they were doing free photo ops in this UFC side. They had sections for everything. So if you were a soccer fan, baseball fan, they had everything. They had UFC, soccer, Premier League soccer. I even got to see the actual Premier League title, and we
Oh.
weren't allowed to touch it, but we just took a picture as if we did touch it. We had the medals. It was really cool. I got to see the Vince Lombardi Trophy on the NFL section, um, and yeah, I thought it was an amazing experience, and that was my first time ever going to Fanatics Fest because I would always see it, and I was told that it wasn't worth it, but then going there, it's actually really worth it, especially getting the photo ops, seeing your favorite players.
Yeah.
You just had to do it.
Nah, yeah, definitely. Nah, man, Kendrick, I appreciate you coming on again. I mean, Fanatics Fest definitely sounded like it was definitely a time. I mean, thank you for showing, the pictures again. Not gonna lie, I've seen OBJ in person too. He has some aura. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I was a little afraid to go up
Oh
to
yeah.
him, but like he was one of them. But thank you again, Kendrick. I mean, me and Kendrick, we go way back. Actually, I went to kindergarten with this man right here. So it's crazy, how
Way
football
back.
could, yeah, it's crazy how soccer or football or whatever you would like to call it, connects people, in the world in general. But, this was, a perfect example of that. Kendrick, thank you for coming on again. Anything you want to plug, let the people know where they could find you. Let us know.
Yeah, of course. I have my Instagram is Kendrick underscore Lopez. I also resell soccer jerseys if anyone's interested. It's underscore Jersey Central. Um, oh, I was gonna add Ben about how we met in kindergarten. I remember you used to always have that. I don't know if it was a Mark Sanchez jersey or like a Joel Rivas jersey,
My
but I
first
remember
jersey was a Rivas jersey, yo.
yeah, I remember
There you
you would
go,
always
Revis
pull
Island.
out here and there with that jersey, and yeah, it was great times. I appreciate you guys for having me on the podcast.
Nah, no problem,
No
man.
problem.
Thanks for
Have a good
joining.
one,
Nice to
bro.
meet you.
Joining.
Nice to meet you too.
Peace
Enjoy,
out, bro.
guys.
Take it easy.
Nah, that was great, man. Nah, yeah, it's crazy like how long ago. Like like we're 21 now. I mean, I'm a lot younger than some people out there, but that's just crazy to think about to me. But props
Yeah.
props to Kendrick.
I
Yeah,
played
and
soccer since I was age 4. Yeah, that's the connections you make. Yeah, they're definitely lifelong.
For real, yo.
and to anybody watching that just enjoyed that special guest, more than welcome to join on the show, give y'all's opinions, y'all's experience. But jumping into our NFL segment, it's been a lot of contract things going on in this offseason, especially this week, mainly in New York. And then we've had some talks in San Francisco about Juwan Jennings possibly wanting out if he doesn't get a contract extension. But we're going to start in New York. New York had just signed two of their, franchise guys or young franchise players. And I'm just giving my thoughts on this. Coming out the draft, I did not sleep on these two players at all. The tape and the production spoke for itself, and it just matched in the NFL. But Benji, your thoughts on that extension? Because I know you're happy about it.
I mean, you could also look behind me as well. That's my boy right there. But let me get into this real quick. I think the 2022 draft class for the New York Jets could possibly go down in history. I mean, these signings, might prove it one day. But Sauce Gardner, he gets 4 years, $120.4 million. And, from Sauce himself, he says that he's just a kid from Detroit. So first off, I just want to say congrats, Sauce, on the extension. Super well deserving. And, Darren Muji in his first year as GM locks down what I believe the two biggest cornerstones on offense and defense for this New York Jets team. Garrett Wilson also got a contract extension the day beforehand. So, I mean, I'm just super excited first off. And, to the people, talking about Sauce Gardner, comparing him to Pat Surtain, I believe Pat Surtain is right up there with Sauce Gardner, but I feel like people also need to take into consideration. Whoa. I also I also believe people should take into consideration that, an off year for cornerback Ahmad Gardner is still a good year for an NFL cornerback. I mean, last year he had the least amount of targets in his career. And, now he becomes the most paid corner in the league. But in my opinion, it's proven. I mean, Adam, what did you think about both of these signings? I mean, Garrett Wilson as well. He's had 1,000 yards in each of his seasons as a Jet. So I just think on top of the loyalty and the production, I just thought both of these contracts were just amazing to start with Muji.
Yeah, I think I didn't expect them to happen maybe in like consecutive days, but you got to do it. Garrett Wilson, like you said, he's been that consistent force. 1,000-yard seasons every year of his career so far. Now he's teaming up with his old college teammates, so now you're setting the tone, locking up Garrett Wilson for the next 4 years. You've got Justin Fields, I think, on a 2-year contract, and then if that works out really well for the next 2 years, obviously they're going to re-sign him, keep that duo together, and then Sauce Gardner, like you said, one of the top corners in the league. I probably would put Pat Surtain a little bit higher, reigning Defensive Player of the Year. He's got the size a little bit more than Sauce Gardner, but that's nothing against Sauce Gardner at all. He's a great great player. Probably the best Jets cornerback since Darrelle Revis. There might be someone that I'm not thinking of, but yeah, he's maybe creating his own Revis Island, so to speak. And yeah, you said he had a little bit of a down season last year, but a down season for him was still like top 10 for cornerbacks, and he's still a very very good player. The money looks like a lot right now, but we've seen how contracts are going up constantly. You're better off locking them up now. And I think he's going to be a great player for years to come. So now you've got the top wide receiver and your top cornerback. I mean, passing league nowadays, you need those players. So it's yeah, great days and great signings for the Jets, and great moving forward. Deuce, any thoughts on this?
I agree with you when you say, you didn't expect it to happen so consistently. I thought, after Wilson got signed, it's probably gonna be like a couple of weeks or a month until,
Right.
Sauce
Yeah.
got signed. You know how the memo goes. They sign one big player, then they get their other big player a few months later. But shows the Jets' priority to get these young guys locked up. You get Garrett Wilson, you get Sauce, your two guys are locked up, plus you still got Justin Fields. I like how you mentioned that if Justin Fields does well these 2 years, he can get that extra, contract extension. That Garrett Wilson's on another 2-year deal. The connection that these boys had at Ohio State was special. And you always see that legendary pick of the Ohio State wide receiver room, and Garrett Wilson is right there in the picture. Um, you can't take away from what them two did at Ohio State together. I don't really watch too much of the Jets, but I will say this: I like the signing for the Jets. Garrett Wilson, like I keep saying, projection speaks for itself. But I'm gonna speak more on Sauce. I like how y'all mentioned he had a down year, but a down year for him is just a top 10 a season still. I think he's at the top 3 cornerbacks along with Stingley. Stingley, I can't get the name out right now.
JC Horn for me is
Yeah,
also up
Stingley,
there.
JC Horn.
Yeah.
Who is the Patrick Surtain, that finally there goes the name, and Gardner. Them top 4 are those are my top 4 cornerbacks. Those are my cornerbacks that I believe deserve to get paid. We saw J.C. Horn just get extended earlier this offseason. So it's trying to show that these cornerbacks are finally trying to get paid. I like the signing for Sauce. Sauce is probably one of my favorite corners in the league, alongside Pat Surtain and J.C. Horn. Their production on the field is crazy. Yes, he did have a little down year, but I expect him to return full to form in this, new Jets regime that, the Jets are under right now. But also jumping into another contract. Wait, hold up. 3 Balls and NFL podcast said, what do you guys think of Justin Fields and NY? I'm reading the chat right now, and I'm actually gonna respond to this. I like Justin Fields and NY. I think this gives him the better opportunity to really succeed. I kind of think that Steelers screwed him over last season. He was playing well before Russell Wilson came back, and they kind of put Russell Wilson, the starter. And yes, Russell Wilson is kind of a veteran, but that didn't take away from what Justin Fields was doing. Now I feel like he's in the even better opportunity with the Jets to even stride better. So to answer your question, I think he'll poise for success in New York.
Yeah,
Benji,
I think they pulled him to I'll pass it to Benji just real quick. They pulled him when he was 4-2, so it's just like it's a bad signal to send to your locker room. And then him on the Jets, Breece Hall had a little bit of a down year last year, but mostly just because he was constantly getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. Now they've fortified the line, getting a top 10 pick, used on a lineman. So I think Breece Hall is going to have a resurgent season, and I think a big part of that is going to be the dual threat capability of Justin Fields, because now you got to worry about Justin Fields. Breece Hall is going to get so many more open holes, and then you've got Braylon Allen, young stud running back. That's a mammoth of a human being. So it's going to be a nice trifecta with that running back room.
And I also want to mention too, Adam, before cutting you off, the Jets do have some tight ends that they just got. Not saying that we are automatically going to think they're superstars, but Mason Taylor, these are more weapons for Justin Fields than that he had in Chicago and he had in Pittsburgh. So this year, I think he's just the most poised for success. Now it's just up for him to perform on the field.
Yeah, I'll end it off with this real quick. I mean, I've obviously I've been watching closely this whole offseason of this, new regime and the programs and the players and everybody. It seems like, things are heading on the right track. But I will say this, and I've said it so many times, it's everybody's, first year at everything. But just the fact that we have all these, pieces around Justin and, certain chemistries with obviously Garrett. It's a better feeling, and I'm confident in head coach Aaron Glenn. So just excited to see what happens, but it's definitely going to be just an exciting year, and can't wait to go to training camp soon.
So another in the NFC West, and before Adam gives his little segment on the Seahawks, Jawan Jennings, he wants to be paid, and we kind of see that nowadays. He stated that, like, hey, pay me or trade me. And some people see it from one side, some people see it from another. Some people say, hey, nowadays people are so worried about the money, and hey, like, these players deserve to be paid. I'm kind of in the middle. Now that Debo Samuel's gone, Juwan Jennings was very productive as a wide receiver 3 last year. He had, let me see, he had 77 receptions, 975 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Very productive. Now that Ayuk and him are the last 2 receivers there, and Debo's not there, he's going to be getting more of a target. Like I said before, he was a top wide receiver 3. I really do think he'll be a top wide receiver 2 as well. The dude is an amazing player on the field. As much as I don't like the 49ers, you got to give credit where it's due. He is productive on the field. Now, do I think if they don't pay him, they should trade him? Maybe. And I kind of agree with that, like to a certain extent, that if they don't pay him, he should trade him. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just kind of in the middle. But I would say if they do trade him, my preferable team would be the Patriots. Another wide receiver alongside Stephon Diggs. I think that would be a very another nice weapon for Drake May, who in all the offseason clips I've been seeing this year has actually looked better. Is kind of really testing him right now. If you kind of been watching the footage on Twitter and stuff. But Adam, your just opinions on Juwan Jennings?
I mean, this whole news is music to my ears as a Seahawks fan. Because the fact that he's saying that, like, yeah, trade me if he doesn't get the contract, and I don't see the 49ers giving him the contract. So I mean, from that standpoint, so Brandon Ayuk's coming into the season injured. The reports early are saying that he's doing well, he's getting healthier, but there's also probably like a 60-70% chance that he's not ready to go week 1, and to make a roster spot, they put him on the PUP list, which means he's going to be out for the first 4 or 6 games. So that's huge. Juwan Jennings, like a couple months ago, said he was the wide receiver 1, and I mean, I love the confidence of him saying that, and he really was last year, because you had Ayuk injured for a good portion of the season, and then Ricky Pearsall is the one guy that we didn't mention yet. He was a rookie last year, but he got shot right before the season started, so he was recovering from gunshot wound. And then he did come on very, very strong towards the end of the season. So that's a guy to watch out for. In fantasy circles, he's a big sleeper. A lot of people are trying to grab him in the middle rounds, and he should have a big season. But Juwan Jennings he's the key cog. Other than George Kittle, he's probably the most important player for their wide receiver core right now, because they're going to be missing Ayuk for about half the season potentially. And then you have Ricky Pearsall going into his sophomore year, and it's like all on potential. If you just looked at like his last 2-3 games, you're like, okay, yeah, he's a stud. He's going to get 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. But it's easy to say just looking at a small sample size like that. So, I mean, if he were to get traded, it's great for the Seahawks. It's great for the Cardinals, great for the Rams, because the 49ers, they've already lost so much on their defense with Drake Greenlaw, Hufanga, Charvarius Ward, like many, many pieces. And then you already mentioned losing Debo. So, I mean, yeah, it's honestly a lot bigger news than some people might think. But maybe they do give him the contract. I think he's not making much money, so I do believe that he deserves to get paid, and he's also one of the most consistent guys on third down. He's just that glue guy on third down that you just look for him to always get that first down. But Benji, thoughts on Juwan Jennings?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Ricky Pearsall as well, because he would kind of fill if Juwan Jennings did, depart from this 49ers team. And we've seen a lot of, departures this offseason for the San Francisco 49ers, more on the defensive side of the ball of things. But, the fact that he's saying that he wants to get paid, we've seen this also with possibly Terry McLaurin with the Commanders, just another round of guys that just want to be paid, and we're just going to have to wait and see. But, if like I was about to say beforehand, if he did go ahead and leave the 49ers, then maybe Ricky Pearsall would be that kind of, contingency for him. But with the small sample size, as you said, we're just not sure. But maybe Brock Purdy doesn't necessarily, need all, not that he doesn't need all of, those sort of weapons, but who knows, maybe some other people come into the mix here in this wide receiver room. So now that it's more open, or possibly, even more open if Juwan Jennings was to depart. But I think it's interesting to see. And, I agree with that. He should get paid, was consistent last year. And yeah, you guys summed it up perfectly.
Yeah. And like y'all said, like the production was there. It was a very threat, with Ayuk and Debo Samuel. He deserves to get paid. Now, if he doesn't get paid, and sometimes teams like to screw players over with their money, the Steelers, I'm not the Steelers, the Patriots would be my best preferable option for Jawan Jennings. But as a football fan, I hope the dude gets paid. Players that show that they're consistent and players that show that they can get the job done when it needs to be done should and deserve his money. And he's another player that deserves to be paid. But
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Adam,
real quick. Oh,
oh,
sorry.
No,
I
no,
was
go
gonna say
ahead, Ben.
I got a comment on my end. Joe Jack says, which player are you guys looking forward to the most this year? Man, not gonna lie, I'm super excited to watch Travis Hunter in Jacksonville. I think that's gonna be a freaking home run slam pick. He's gonna be rocking the city of Jacksonville, and in that stadium, it's gonna be a time. It's gonna be something I want to watch every Sunday.
I think probably for me, have to be Cowboys running back Jadon Blue. You
I
watch the
like that.
film, and yes, he does have his little minor issues with fumbling the ball, but you watch the film, and he is like an explosive. He can be an explosive back, a receiving back, something that the Cowboys need. The Cowboys have, they've had their little inconsistency of finding just a true stable running back for the last few years. They've been kind of flipping between starting running backs. We had Dowdle, we had Tony Pollard, and not to say that these guys weren't productive, but somebody just to keep for long term. I think right now having Jadon Blue behind Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams is great learning experience. And eventually he can start getting those reps. And that's just what the Cowboys need right now. More young talent to fuel to the fire.
Yeah, I'll throw out a couple. Ashton Genty, I mean, just seeing what he did in college
Facts.
football last year, I just want to see him just take the league by storm. But like that's one that's probably expected. You could throw Omarion Hampton in the mix, but that's another one like they're gonna get, especially with Najee Harris with his eye injury from a Fourth of July firework accident. So I mean, they're gonna get carries. They're gonna get them really early. But Tetairoa McMillan, I would think he could have like top 10 upside. I think he could be following the footsteps of Malik Neighbors, Lad McConkey, as far as just players that just take the league by storm their rookie year. And then Bryce Young's finally got that alpha wide receiver. So that one's going to be super duper fun to watch. I do legitimately think he could have a top 12, top 10 season statistically because the target's going to be there for him. They've got other receivers, but no one's got like that alpha prototypical build. And from everything I've been hearing, he's been looking really good. He's a very good route runner, and Bryce Young's already getting a connection with him. And then one final one really quick, Cooper Kupp returning home to the Seahawks. I'm just really
Yeah, it's gonna
excited
be
to see if he
interesting to
can have that resurgence and see if he can like turn back the clock to a couple years ago. Because if that happens, it could be scary for the rest of the NFC West if they get Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp rolling. And MVS, I mean, he's I almost forget about him every single time that he's on the roster, but he followed Clint Kubiak to the Seahawks, so he gets to stay with his offensive coordinator from last season, and he had a pretty good season last year, and he's always that deep threat you have to worry about.
Yeah, and if that happens, the Sam Darnold fan club, including myself, would be very, very happy.
Actually, I would want to throw one more player out. I'm actually kind of excited to see JJ McCarthy.
Yeah,
I
That's
did an
another
interview.
That's another
In the
interesting one
interview,
too.
I did with my Packers friend, we were talking about the who will finish, and the comment that kind of stuck out to me was that JJ McCarthy was overhyped. I and a lot of people are gonna have their opinions on if he's overhyped or not. I think how he performed at Michigan was incredible before he got hurt. Before he got hurt, I felt like there was momentum that he could have probably took on Sam Darnold to compete for that starting spot. Before he got hurt. But now this year he has the full keys to that offensive mind and their head coach. I can't think of the name right off the top of my head right now.
Kevin O'Connell.
Kevin O'Connell, yeah, an offensive
QB
mind that
whisperer.
a guru at offense. I think he is going to really take JJ McCarthy to that next level. And alongside Justin Jefferson and Aaron Jones as some weapons that they can have in the backfield and as a receiver. And there's some other receivers right now that I just can't think of off the top of my head, but that's
Jordan
that's what
Addison.
Jordan Addison. Those are the two, weapons that McCarthy needs. He's coming into the league. Sometimes we come to the league and we put rookies in this situation that they don't have a weapon, they don't have weapons, they don't have a line, but McCarthy kind of has the weapons set up to succeed right now and to probably compete. I'm not necessarily saying like a top, like the first seed, but compete for a second, third seed spot in a tough NFC North.
Most definitely. And yeah, I mean that's gonna be such a fun division to watch. Other than the AFC West, they're really gonna be those are probably gonna be the most fun and most wide open divisions as far as who's gonna win it. So yeah, I'm very, very excited to see that. And I agree with you, JJ McCarthy could have a great first season. And one guy that the Vikings also added was Jordan Mason, who was one of the
That's
top
right.
running backs in football when Christian McCaffrey was out of the 49ers. So he's kind of not talked about enough, in my opinion. But I've heard reports that it could be a 1A, 1B with Aaron Jones and him. So with Aaron Jones getting up there in age, just take a few touches away from him and give it to like Jordan Mason, who honestly, to me, runs like Marshawn Lynch quite a bit. So super high praise coming from a Seahawks fan.
Yeah, and I know we had Michael just kind of join, but he'll probably be back in just a second. But jumping into, Adam, I know you wanted to talk about the Seahawks and, they're on the defensive side of the ball. And this has kind of been a long time brewing because you've been in and out. So you don't really get the chance to talk about the Seahawks, but this week you're here. So just give us your little rundown on the Seahawks,
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick because I kind of wrote a few too many notes, but they were a sneaky good secondary last year. They were top 6. They have Julian Love, who's still under contract. He's had between 109 and 124 total tackles from the safety spot the last 3 years, and between 2 and 4 picks every single year. So I mean, just the consistency on that back end is huge. And then with the cornerbacks, you have Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen. And then now Shaq Griffin, past Seahawk, is now back on the team. So now he can fight it out with Josh Jobe for the cornerback 3 duties. And one of them will probably end up being the outside corner because Witherspoon's he plays kind of that nickelback role. He plays a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He just does a little bit of everything. So it's going to be really interesting. But I did a little research on Josh Jobe before we came on, and I was really surprised to learn that he had a 64% lockdown rate, which is stat that's talking about preventing separation, which was second in the NFL last year. And he had 7 passes defense. So he's a really underrated player in that secondary. And I mean, they added Nickaman Worry in the draft. So
yeah, that's right.
But before I talk about him, Kobe Bryant is another like very underrated guy. He had a 72.8 overall pass grade, according to Pro Football Focus. That was 27th out of 171 safeties. That was his overall grade. His coverage grade was 32nd out of 171. His run grade, 21st out of 171. And then interceptions, he had 3 of them, which pretty quality for a safety. So then you have him and Julian Love both getting like right around 3 interceptions. So that was 12th out of 171 safeties. So for a guy that's not talked about probably enough and not much at all, it's a very solid guy to go with Julian Love. And then, like I was just mentioning, they had Nickaman Worry in round 2. I thought he was in a lot of mocks. I had him going 18th to the Seahawks in round 1, or definitely getting drafted in round 1. So that was a steal getting him in round 2. Didn't allow a touchdown in coverage last year in college. Hits like an absolute truck. So I mean, no one hits like Cam Chancellor in my opinion, but you get a guy that is just hungry for those NFC West battles, and he's already said that he's going to be very excited to play the 49ers and add a little extra juice and hit a little bit harder when he plays the 49ers. So you love to hear that. And he's a guy that can be played all around the formation. So Mike McDonald, for people that don't know, he was the Ravens defensive coordinator before he came over last year on the Seahawks. And 2 years ago in 2023, he was the Ravens had the top defense in all of football. So it was already building last year. Now it's in year 2. I think Mike McDonald's defense and the defense overall is just going to blow up. And because now he gets his Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton's already rated by most people, if not the top safety in the league, probably top 3, depending on who's grading him. And now he's got that in Nickaman Worry, where you can just put him anywhere in the formation. And like I said, he's very good in coverage, but I could see a lot of safety blitz coming off the edge. You can play him as a linebacker. So it's just, the fact that he's going to be the 3rd safety. So it's just like, there's so much depth. I was already mentioning all the cornerback depth. So, I mean, the secondary is definitely going to be the strength of the Seahawks, but
y'all got a lot of depth on that defense. Like
y'all
DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah, but I was just about to say DeMarcus Lawrence even too. He could definitely still ball, in my opinion. So the depth for you guys is going to be insane for next season. And we also got Michael coming on too. He's back. What's good, Michael?
What's good?
Welcome, Michael.
Hey guys.
Yeah,
So
and just
out of
wrapping this up.
yeah, wrapping it
Yeah,
up.
yeah, I can wrap it up, or if you had a question, either way.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say,
So
who
yeah,
do you
go
think
ahead.
is the like player on y'all's defense that you would say is probably gonna be the most impactful, or you want to be like the most impactful player on that defense that their presence is gonna be shown? Like, you know how Cowboys, we got Micah Parsons, his presence
hmm
is shown every game. Who would you say is that for like the Seahawks?
I'd honestly say Leonard Williams, who was just re-signed, and he had that crazy interception play where he ran like almost 19 miles per hour at 300 pounds.
Oh
His
my
nickname's
goodness.
Big Cat. He's a defensive leader, but then Jaron Reed's another guy. So those two guys in the interior. Jaron Reed is just a really, really undervalued player by most people, and so those are two guys that I expect to just be leaders of the locker room. But you were mentioning Demarcus Lawrence, and I just was going to touch on the defensive line a little bit. So I mean, it's already one of the youngest, most well-rounded defensive lines. You got Boy Mafe, Derek Hall, that should take even like another big step forward next year. Boy Mafe had like a sack streak of 7 games last year, then did fall off a little bit towards the end of the season, but he's still young and he's not even projected to be a starter. You get a Chena Nwosu coming back, and then the aforementioned Leonard Williams yeah, the guy I just said. And then Jaron Reed, yeah, and then Byron Murphy, year 2. Like people kind of hated on him for no reason because he was still commanding a big presence in the middle. So Byron Murphy is another great player, and so I mean we're just the amount of players that I can rattle off. There's so much depth on this defense, so it's like it can come from anywhere. And Demarcus Lawrence, super underrated addition. If he doesn't help in the sack department, which I think he will, but he's kind of fallen off in past years in the sack department. But he's such a good run player, so good in the run defense. So I think that's going to help set the edge a ton and just stop the opposing the opposing running game. And because of that, I think the Seahawks are going to have a top 5 defense. To me, or to some people, that might be a bold take. That might be a hot take, but I do not even think it's that bold because if you look at all the pieces, it's there. And I think this division is very winnable. So we'll see what can happen there. And yeah, I think I hit on all of the things I wanted to right there.
Yeah, so closing out our NFL segment before we get into the NBA, I want to say this. Michael just joined and he's going to talk a little bit about some college football later. So I will very much well stay tuned to that. But jumping into our NBA segment, and this is my friend. He's also a basketball let's call it head. He watches basketball, studies it, he even bets on it a lot. But he is a very good basketball head, and this is my friend Jericho.
What's up, y'all? How y'all feeling? How y'all doing?
Doing good. How you doing?
How you
All
doing?
right. Doing good, bro.
Just
First things first, I want to say y'all have some really good football takes. I do not watch football that much, so like hearing y'all talk about it is kind of cool. It gives me a little bit more insight.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate
that. Yeah.
But and I said I literally said I let you go first and answer these questions. The first one, we got the summer league's been going on. Any young players or any rookies just been standing out to that have caught your eye, made you be like, oh, he may be a star in the league?
Well, I mean, when you say star, I feel like it's very hard to already put that label on a rookie.
Okay, I would say a caliber role player.
Okay, so for me, I think the first player that has really caught my eye is Terrence Shannon Jr. on the Timberwolves, right? And so he's been doing very well in the summer league. He's been averaging 22, 21 points per game in the summer league, right? And over the course of this past season, he got minutes throughout the year in the regular season, and he did his job well. But when he got minutes in the playoffs this past season, he did very, very well with what he was supposed to do, right? He was defending very well. He was attacking the paint. He was shooting, right? He was doing what was asked of him to do. And I feel like with his performance now in the summer league, it just is, he's going to gain more confidence basically heading into this next season. And when you look at the way that the Timberwolves are made or their team structure, he could very well have a big impact this upcoming season on the Timberwolves if he gets consistent minutes, whether that be 15, 20 minutes a night. He can make an impact. And he's not going to be a star player, of course, on the Timberwolves because you have Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards, but he can be a very big help moving forward for them.
Yeah. So, and I'm just gonna I'm before I pass the mic off around the room. One player that has kind of really stood out to me this summer league is Kyle Filipowski. You know,
Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure.
I really wasn't watching the Jazz that much, but then I kind of after they drafted Ace Bailey and I looked at the team, I was like, this team is actually younger than you think. They got a bunch of like young players that could develop. Kyle Filipowski is another one of them. This is year 2, I believe. He's averaging 29 points per game in the summer league. He had 35 the other game, but to the Spurs, but they lost to a buzzer beater. Still had a perfect game. He's another player that I just feel like after this year, he will be on that Jazz team in a few years. He can be a nice presence on that roster, But I'm gonna pass the mic off, and I'll start with Adam. Just like any players in general or young players that just stood out to you this summer league.
Yeah, I haven't watched too much of the summer league, but one matchup that stood out to me was when the Mavericks played the Lakers. Of course, the headlines were Bronny James and Cooper Flag. And Cooper Flag, I think, shot 5 of 20. Did not have a great game. However, he came back, and I think the next game and scored 31 points. Looked like the #1 overall pick that they thought they were going to get. And then I think it was a really smart move from the Mavericks to immediately shut him down for the rest of the summer league because they saw what they needed to see. They saw the dominant play, and there's no sense in trying to or no sense in risking injury for the first overall pick, and might as well just shut him down. And you have at that point, especially with Kyrie Irving being out, you got to keep him healthy, and he looks like he's locked in and ready to go for the season. But I'll pass it off to Ben if you want to go next. Any thoughts on any summer league?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched that much of it as well, like you said, but I mean, Yang Hansen for me on the Trailblazers has been cool to see, cool to watch. I mean, he just says that he just eats, sleeps, and PS5s with 2K. But I mean, on the court, he's looking like a force to be reckoned with. So I'm gonna be excited to see him this year. I
And
mean, Michael, anybody?
Good one.
Ben, I'm gonna note this that Hanson is gonna be playing alongside Robert Williams and Donovan Killigan from those two bigs as well. So Portland got a good amount of bigs on that roster, and if Yang Hansen keeps developing, that they could have a very good depth at the big man position.
Yeah, Michael, anybody for you that stood out for you this summer league? I know we talked a little bit about fears last week. Anything else to add for the summer league?
I know the last episode I spoke about fears, but I'm gonna talk about Bronny. I'm gonna throw Bronny James out there, and I'm gonna throw Derek Quinn out there. Those guys have really put their names out there. Like they're getting people to understand that that we are as talented as other people say we're not. And I'm gonna start with Bronny James because there was a lot of criticism that Bronny James was getting, and he's been balling like he got the hops. I seen him do a 3
like father, like son, yeah.
Like Bronny, I mean, don't add too much flavor to the sauce now. I mean, I like it, I like it, but no, Bronny is just continually showing that I'm as skilled as my dad is, but I'm not here because of my father. I'm here because I have the skill and the talent to get to the next level. And then not only that, and then I'm gonna jump to Quinn. This guy here, man, he plays. He's like 6.
Oh, I think we lost the audio. Wait, hold on, Michael. We can't hear you.
I love but your audio cut out.
Wait, Michael. Can't hear you. Is it just for me or is it for y'all too?
No, I can't hear him.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
hear him.
Just 1 sec, Michael.
Can you hear us? I can't hear you. Oh.
Nope, he's back.
Is that better now?
Michael, try talking.
Okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to jump into our next segment, and we're going to have Michael just rejoin us, as we continue on. But, in this, since we saw Cole Anthony recently, and Cole Anthony and Bradley Beal have both been on the headlines lately, but Cole Anthony first. He's been reported to go to the Bucks after a buyout. Jericho, your thoughts about that?
I mean, Cole Anthony going to the Bucks, it's good, but I don't think it's like the definite replacement, because he's a good player, but if you're gonna ask him to start, right, he's never been asked to start on the Magic. He was always the best coming off the bench and giving, energy and volume off the bench, right? And when you look at it from a standpoint of like, okay, are we bringing Cole Anthony here for him to come off the bench? Or are we bringing him here to start? And that's like the big question, because if you're bringing him in there to start, he's going to have to, kind of learn his way as a starting point guard. And to me, I think he's best coming off the bench. Now, is it a good move? Yeah, it's a good move. But I still do feel like the Bucks, they need to find a star point guard, right? Because with Giannis, you have to have a point guard with him that can play and play make and be offensive, right? And Cole Anthony's good, but I just think he's better off being a sixth man.
I agree.
And another thing too with the Bucks is that they did get Miles Turner, which in my opinion I still have mixed feelings about Miles Turner, obviously, what he showed in the finals and all throughout the playoffs. But him going to the Bucks, that just adds more defense for them. But it also kind of like replaces Brook Lopez, because they kind of have the similar games, game styles, like in terms of, they're both very heavy, in terms of shooting the three. They both can block a lot of shots. And that was a decent move as well for the Bucks.
I mean, I liked the Cole Anthony signing. It just gave more depth in my opinion for the Bucks, something that a team always needs.
Mm-hmm.
He is like you said, he is reliable off the bench, but I do believe that the Bucks need to find like another just like point guard, because I do think he strives better off the bench. But y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, I wrote down a couple things. So yeah, it was last year. He only had 9.4 points per game, but so it was his lowest point per game average over the last 5 years. However, he also is only playing 18.4 minutes per game. So maybe you see in like a more boosted role now that they're missing Damian Lillard. Maybe he can round back into form. I mean, I wrote down in the 21-22 season, he averaged 16.3 points per game. He was playing, I think, closer to like, he still wasn't starting, I don't think, but I think he was like that sixth man coming right off the bench, averaging like 26 minutes per game. And every single season except other than last year, he's averaged between 11.6 and 13 points per game. And then that one season where he had 16. And like you guys said, he's that good player that comes off the bench and he stuffs the stat sheet. A lot of those seasons he was averaging like around like 4 to 5 rebounds, 4 to 5 assists. So it's a good constant presence. Sorry about my dog. It's a good presence to have coming off the bench, and maybe he plays a starting role, and we'll see what can happen. I mean, I think it's a good signing, and you definitely need the depth now after releasing Damian Lillard.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
he
we
is
got
also
Michael
on a
back,
1-year
folks.
deal, so it's not that like you're going to be stuck with him. If he doesn't perform as good or as expected, just move on from him. It's only
not much financial investment. Great point.
Welcome back, Michael. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we hear you again.
Johnny, come on.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
You can go outside.
So just filling you in, Michael, we just talking about some, signings right now. But our next talk is, Bradley Beal just got picked up by the Clippers. Some people are going to say it's a good signing for them. Some people are going to say it's a bad signing. In my opinion, I think he doesn't really do too much to the team. He is, for the last 2 seasons, he's kind of been like, he's had that injury bug that you see players get towards the later years of their career. And this LA team is kind of already old. I think like their average is like 33, 34 years old on that team, full of their starting rosters, a bunch of 30-year-olds. So my question is like, I don't think like adding Bradley Beal's going to do too much to make them like championship contenders, but I do think the Clippers will still be like that team they were last year, that sneaky playoff team that can like, put up a good series with you, because with Kawhi on your team, we have learned that you can really never count out Kawhi because he knows how to lead a team.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I'm actually going, Jericho, your thoughts on that? Because I know you were a Clippers fan once.
Okay, so the Bradley Beal going to the Clippers, in my opinion, I think it's a good trade. And the reason why I think it's a good trade for the Clippers is because now it brings kind of like another aspect of scoring to their team, right? So they got rid of Norman Powell, if I'm not mistaken. I think he went
Yes.
to Miami, right? So you bring in Bradley Beal, they both play the same position now. So it's like, okay, we found a good replacement, right? Norman Powell, Bradley Beal, right? Bradley Beal comes into the Clippers. He doesn't have to be the Bradley Beal that obviously went out there in Washington and had 30 plus points a game, but he just has to play his role next to Harden and Kawhi, and now Zubac, because obviously Zubac had a breakout year this year where he was absolutely dominating. He was one
Love
of the
Zubac.
best big
Fancy
men.
MVP for me, man.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
so
for real though. Me too.
yeah, exactly. And another thing is that a lot of people are also forgetting that the Clippers also got John Collins.
Yes.
And
Good
with
point.
John Collins, he was always a very solid power forward in Atlanta. And then he got moved to Utah. And obviously, Utah wasn't good for anybody. But now he gets to go on the Clippers and play meaningful basketball, right? And so that team is really, really, in my opinion, they could make a lot of noise this year. It's just about staying healthy, of course. Kawhi Leonard, he's probably going to load manage a couple games throughout the regular season, obviously. But Bradley Beal, if he can stay healthy, he can provide support for the Clippers in itself. James Harden, he's going to do his thing. I expect another big year from Zubac. But a red flag for the Clippers might have to be their bench. I don't know any players on the Clippers from the bench that could really also kind of make an impact. Other than that, I mean, you just got to find. It's hard these days to find a really complete team in the NBA just because of how everything is. But I mean, yeah, that's just my thoughts in general.
Yeah, it was a great point about like Kawhi Leonard and probably need to be having some load management, having some rest games. So now you add a guy like Bradley Beal, who we've seen him be like a prolific scorer at many different points throughout his career. And maybe the biggest thing for me is I think it was a 2-year, $11 million deal. So that's like in NBA money, that's like almost nothing.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is the Suns are paying they paid him $97 million to not play for them, basically. So that's
Yeah.
pretty freaking wild from a financial standpoint.
It's a decent
But
contract.
Ben, Michael, thoughts on this?
Yeah,
Thoughts on
Michael, if you want
Bradley
to go
Beal?
first.
Yeah, it's a decent contract, I will say. The 2-year $11 million deal, excuse me. It's not that's actually a decent signing, especially for Bradley Beal. What we also have to think about is, it the signing is actually more, to me, is more about depth, in my opinion, because at the same time, like I said, you got Kawhi Leonard, you got James Harden, you got the pieces, but at the same time, it just really determines where do you put Bradley Beal. Do you put him at the point guard position? He can play point guard position, but like Deuce just said, he's injury prone. So the real question here is how much impact is he gonna put with the Clippers roster? Because you guys know I'm very big on players that are like over their 30s. You got James Harden that's like what 35, and then you got Kawhi Leonard. I think he's like what 37 or 34,
34.
something like that.
34.
34. So the real question here is that how much physicality does Bradley Beal still have in his ability to score, his ability to dribble, his ability to pass? Those are the keys that you need to ask yourself when it comes down to Bradley Beal. Even though it's a decent signing, don't get me wrong, but the real question here is, like I said, how much of an impact can Bradley Beal help out Kawhi Leonard and James Harden? Because do I think this is a winning caliber? It's getting there, but it's not a championship contender team, in my opinion. I'm just gonna call it like it is here. Not saying the Clippers are not good, okay? But what I'm saying is that they might be, maybe a top 5 seed in the playoffs, something like that, maybe in the play-in. But
Yeah, I could see that.
It's just going to determine, how long can these players last in the season. Now, do I expect them to play every game? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, with Bradley Beal, James Harden, and Kawhi Leonard, how long can these guys play together? Can they play a few games together to where the Clippers can build up a winning record so they can get to the playoffs? It is the main thing here. That's my thought.
Michael, and I like, because we oftentimes we see like these players, like we hype up these players that are going to play together, and I'm like, no means I'm taking away from what Bradley Beal has done, but like in my instance, we hyped up KD, Kyrie, and Harden, and they barely played because everybody was injured all the time. You remember? I know y'all
Yeah.
remember that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
the
so
best that
exactly what
ever
I'm saying.
was, man.
So my
Right.
question is, like, I'm not taking away nothing from what Bradley Beal has done. It's just that when he was on the Suns roster, it was just, to me, it just felt like, oh, he's out again for this period of time because he can't stay healthy. Now, I am not
Right.
taking away from what the Clippers can do because, like I said before, I never count out Kawhi Leonard. This team last year made a playoff push, and they actually competed with the Nuggets, if I can remember correctly, in the first round. They
Yeah.
went
With 7
they went to
games.
they went to 7, so you can never count this Clippers team. I think Bradley Beal, just like Jericho said, he just needs to contribute. He doesn't have to be that player we saw in Washington, but he just needs to contribute. But my
Yeah.
biggest question for him is just, can you stay on the court and not get injured? Because we
Exactly.
don't want to see what was happening in Phoenix, where you were just on everybody thought you was going to come to Phoenix and ball out, but you were
Yep.
just constantly hurt week after week in these periods of time. That's just my thing for it.
And like
Yeah.
I've been saying numerous of times before, it might look good on paper, but there's a difference between on paper and on live action. You
On
know
the
what I'm saying?
court.
Because on
Yeah.
the
Yep.
court is what I'm saying. Because even though you got Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, that on paper that look good. But then again, let's like I said, let's be honest here. Sometimes what look good on paper ain't always what it seems. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So, like I said, I'm not counting Clippers out, but I'm just saying as far as Bradley Beal, because Bradley Beal was with the Suns. You had Devin Booker, you had Kevin Durant, you had Bradley Beal, but the Suns wasn't really, they were decent, but Bradley Beal was hurt, and then every time Devin Booker was hurt, and then every time KD was hurt, so they never really connected. So
Yeah.
now, like I said, that's the main question here. Can Bradley Beal stay healthy enough to where he can help James Harden? And that's the same question for James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Can you guys stay healthy and continue what you did last year and possibly go further?
Yeah,
That's the
One way
question.
I was gonna
Go
say
ahead,
about
Ben.
the Sun. Yeah, sorry. I was gonna say about the Suns really quickly. Like I could see it from their perspective. When we reacted to the Jalen Green KD trade, we were mentioning that. I mean, hey, what are the Suns gonna do now? They kind of have a lot of guards here. It's a little
Yep.
crowded in this room now for for the rock to be passed around enough for all these guys, but. I mean, the West is only getting harder, in my opinion, and the East is, going to be the East next year differently because, Tatum has a torn Achilles, and also Halliburton. So I think, the Clippers adding him, gives them, like we've all said, depth, but it's just a question of, how it's all going to play out with everybody's, health, like it does every year with, in my opinion, with a player like Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
just
oh,
one
you
way or
gonna go real quick?
another. Just real quick, this is like my final thought. One way or another, I feel like the Clippers are going to be the 5 seed. I think they were right around the 5 seed last year. They just somehow always find a way to just be like right there in the mix. As long as Kawhi Leonard's healthy, like a few of us said, like you can't ever rule out the Clippers just because he's so good defensively. He gets hot offensively, and Ivica Zubac, yeah, he just had a breakout season. So I mean, he might be that constant force, honestly. And Bradley Beal for 2 years, $11 million. He does not have to go crazy. He's a guy that could even end up coming off the bench. Like he might be great as like the sixth man on that team.
Yeah, like going into what Adam said, like right now, like I think Beal should come off the bench absolutely for the Clippers, just lead the second unit. When you look at it, like when you have Kawhi, Harden, and Zubac on the court, and probably John Collins as a starting power forward, you can put anybody else in that fifth spot, in that fifth starting spot, they'll be fine. And Bradley Beal coming off the bench, leading the second unit, I think that's where he's probably going to excel the most at, because you put him in the starting five, it's like, okay, well, Kawhi's going to get his touches. Harden's obviously going to get his touches. And then Zubac, he's going to get his touches too, So it's better off if he just comes off the bench and he has more freedom that way.
Yeah.
A great point.
So, and then just like closing out this NBA segment, we've had a lot of talk about LeBron in the past few days, and we've had reports come out say like, hey, this is true. Hey, some of this is not true. But just giving y'all like our personal opinion on LeBron's future in LA, and I'm just gonna start off with mine. I really don't buy like the whole trade and buyout rumors going on right now. I think, he finishes out this year in year 23. It's already a storybook season for him to finish it out this year. I really don't think after this season, LeBron has nothing else to prove. He's already proved everything on the court. He has the accolades, he has the stats to back it up. So I'm not really buying him going to like the Mavericks or something. If he goes to the Mavericks, I think that only just hurts the team that they're building right now, alongside Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Kyrie Irving. So I think his best bet is just, you play the two, and like we said a few episodes back with our guest, LeBron is in the point in his career. He's like the number 2 option. Luka is the number 1 on that team. He's a younger, he can score more, and he can be, I would say you can rely more on Luka than you can rely on Braun. Not saying that LeBron is not productive, but right now in his career, I think LeBron is just a number 2 player. And he is a top number 2 player at that. He made the all NBA list last year. So you still can't count on what he's doing on the court. But in my opinion, I would say, Braun, you finish year 23 in LA, you retire, and in a few seasons you're in the Hall of Fame. But Jericho or Benji?
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. Imagine LeBron James joining the New York Knicks, winning a championship. No, I'm kidding. That's never gonna happen. But that would reset NBA parity if he did that, though. But that will never happen. But I wish, man. I wish. But I mean,
it's not possible.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I mean, I don't know, man. I agree with Deuce. That was all jokes right there. To be honest, I agree with Deuce. I feel like he's gonna retire a Laker, but I feel like this happens every year with LeBron. Where is he gonna go next? But it's just usually rumors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, Jericho.
Like what Brandon said. I mean, LeBron going to another team, it doesn't really make any sense. I mean, like if you're another team, like let's say the Mavericks, right, or like the Warriors even, right? You get LeBron, you're only gonna have LeBron for probably at max 2 seasons. So like it's kind of like we have to compete now, kind of. And I just don't think LeBron would do that. I think LeBron's gonna retire in LA. Like Brandon says, it's a perfect storybook ending. Retire in LA.
Yeah.
You already won them a championship. You have the scoring record. You broke all sorts of other records. And like, it wouldn't make any sense for him to move out of LA. It just wouldn't.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's like, stick it out in LA. One thing I have heard is if he was to go somewhere, like what if he went back to the Cavs for the 3rd time? It would maybe work. They've got the core there, but I mean, I think it would just be too many mouths to feed. Like who's going to have the ball? They have so many other good players. So I mean, I think from the Cavs standpoint, it would honestly be probably more of a distraction. So if the Cavs can just learn from their playoff mishaps this past season, going into the playoffs, they're one of the best teams. So just
just roll
it up, roll back the clock, and just do it again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Michael.
Sure. And honestly, I'm just gonna say that LeBron is not gonna go anywhere. Like I'm just gonna keep it a buck with everybody. LeBron is not going anywhere. LeBron he got Bronny with him. So imagine if LeBron went to another team. I mean, not saying that Bronny is going to be fine with or without LeBron. But I as a father figure, as LeBron is, like I said, LeBron is a father. So LeBron is not going to leave.
He don't want to leave that. He wouldn't want to leave.
LeBron is
That's
not
probably
going to leave.
the biggest thing.
If anything, this season, I think LeBron is going to do what he basically did last year with Bronny. Coach him up, tell him, feel the environment, because they were one video that I saw where him and Bronny were sitting on the bench and like, you feel that? Feel the environment. He's going to be teaching his son the ins and outs of the game and how to work around the crowd, work around your ability. LeBron is going to be teaching Bronny. But I think the question here is LeBron started his career in Cleveland. Cleveland is technically his home. So it really would determine where would LeBron want to retire his jersey at. Because most players, what they do is whatever team they started at, they're going to retire there. It's not always that way, but at the same time, LeBron, he loved Cleveland. And it really just came down to the point where, it was just time, to go somewhere else. But even though LeBron was somewhere else, Cleveland, in my opinion, I think Cleveland is still his home, and he's probably going to want to retire his jersey in Cleveland because that's where he started, his career. At a young as a young guy, he started his career in Cleveland, and he built up, you know, in Cleveland. He left Cleveland, he came back, won a title for Cleveland. So I just feel like it's more love in Cleveland than it is in LA. But don't get me wrong, LeBron loves LA, but I can't speak for LeBron. I don't know who where LeBron will want to retire from. It's just only determine where was he most comfortable, and I think that's the real question.
Yeah, and I mean, we know LeBron's probably gonna get like that Jordan treatment when he retires. We're gonna have multiple teams retiring that, if multiple teams retiring his jersey. So I don't think it'll be a doubt that Cleveland is not going to retire his jersey. Obviously he brought them their championship in like 50 years.
Yeah,
So So
this is for you.
So I really do think like, hey, maybe he signs like a 1-day contract.
Yeah.
He signs a 1-day contract to finish off the year or finish off the offseason with Cleveland so he can get that jersey retirement. But I'm just thinking like, in going into playoffs, I see LeBron on the Lakers, and I still see the Lakers as a playoff team with LeBron on the team.
Absolutely.
But you see that a lot in baseball where like a player might be like basically retired, but you'll see them just sign and like ceremonial, basically, so to speak. Like Ken Griffey and Ichiro both did it with the Mariners. Just like at the very end of the season, or the very end of their career, just so you can say they ended with that team. And like you said, Deuce, he's gonna get his jersey retired by Cleveland no matter what.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me like Ichiro's last team was the Yankees. Was that his last team?
Marlins. I think it was the Marlins. Actually, really. Super random.
We saw with Dwayne, we saw with D Wade, we saw with Kevin Garnett. They returned back to their team, so it's like it's never out of the picture. But I just think from thinking from a outside standpoint, I just don't see the need for like LeBron to go to another team to start off the regular season. But closing out this segment, Jericho, it was nice having you on as a guest feature, and you are always welcome to come back on and talk basketball.
Yes,
absolutely.
Hey,
Appreciate you, Jericho.
What's up?
Hey, I got one question, brother, and I'm gonna let you go, dog.
Mm-hmm.
My first question is, where do you see LeBron retiring? Do you see him retiring at 45? And also, do you think LeBron still has a physical shape and the muscle strength to be able to do what he's been doing for another 5 or 2 seasons? Like, where do you see LeBron? Like, what age do you see LeBron retiring in?
I think he has 2 more seasons left. That's just me. He came out, I'm pretty sure, and he said that I'm not going to be in this game for too much longer. I think 2 seasons is the max. Obviously, he's still as physical, as can be. He's still very athletic. And with Luka being on the Lakers, it just lessens the load for him. And so some nights you might see him kind of not really go all the way because Luka is on the team, right? And so I feel like that gives him more, energy throughout the season, especially going, into the playoffs. I still think he's very capable of playing at least 2 more seasons. And I think he's going to retire as a Laker. I don't think he's going, to the Cavs or to any other team. I think he's going to stay on the Lakers. He's going to retire a Laker. And yeah.
But yeah, Jericho, it was nice having you on this show. You're always welcome to be back on. Special thanks to Inside the Locker Room for having you on, and you enjoy your day, bro.
Appreciate it, bro. Y'all have a good one.
Peace out, yo.
Nice to meet you, Jericho.
All right, so MLB All-Star break has happened. It was a lot of debates and a lot of talks going up into the All-Star break. We had just a lot, but basically we can start off with the home run derby. I didn't watch too much of it, sadly, but I know Benji and Adam did. So just a recap, some thoughts about the home run derby.
I mean, I'm gonna let Adam open it up with the freaking big dumper taking that crown for the home run derby. Made us proud, man. What did you see tonight? Not tonight, but that night from Cal Raleigh, the big dump.
Yeah, no, honestly, I was in Belize, so I was only able to follow along. So I actually just watched it before we went on air, so it's very fresh in my memory. It was just really cool to see his dad and his brother involved. His dad was the one throwing the pitches to him. His brother was the one catching the pitches. And when he was interviewed afterwards by Jeff Passan, Cal basically said, like, yeah, it was my brother, like, right behind the plate, like, just urging me along and hyping me up. He's like, he credited him with, like, a lot of why he won, just being hyped up by his brother. And even his dad, even his brother was, you could actually hear him a few different times on, like, on like a hot mic, but you could hear him kind of like telling his dad, like, no, like, pitch it over here, basically. So it was awesome to see. Of course, round one, it came down to a fraction of an inch to get by Brent Rooker.
That was crazy.
That was crazy. But I think he was just kind of, and like, it was also cool to see in round one, because I mean, the catchers never won it outright, and switch hitters never won the home run derby. So he literally did his first half batting from the left side, like that's his typical power side. But he showed that he can do it from the right side. I mean, he showed it during games, but it was just cool to see him do it in a home run derby competition, just to, like, honestly kind of show off. And then he kind of locked in the second round and round three, and he was just batting from the left side. But I mean, you can just see. I mean, Big Dumper he's accurately named that. Like,
That's what happens
did not,
when he dumps down baseballs, man.
yeah, and he didn't lose anything in his legs. Like, it really does pay to have like a large lower body in baseball. Like, you saw it with Ken Griffey for years. That dude was also a big dumper, and he had ginormous legs as well. Like, and I'm not just saying that like to say it. It's like, it's true. Like, Cal Raleigh didn't lose. Like, he didn't lose any of the gas in the tank. You get to see it round two. I think he put up 15 or 16 home runs. Easily got through that round, and then finals, it was Junior Caminero. Young gun. He's like 21, 22. He's going to be amazing for the Tampa Bay Rays for a long, long time. So it was really cool to see the young gun versus Cal Raleigh. And I mean, yeah, big dumper brought it home, and it was awesome to see, just because he deserves it. I was a little worried after round one, but he can just do it nonstop. Like, it's so effortless. It's a nice swing, and he's using the lower body. It's great.
No,
what are your thoughts, Ben?
I was watching closely out, and when he actually won, I was like, man, I know Adam is so freaking proud right now. I mean, he's only the second Mariner too of all time, I believe, other than Griffey to win it.
Yeah,
so,
and Ken Griffey was there to watch the whole thing too.
Yeah, I mean, another stat that kind of made it sort of special for the Raleigh family, and that's even, I noticed that as well with his dad, just the teamwork and them three kind of like going, hand in hand, and then they get to the final versus Cruz, and it wasn't even close. So it was just a big dominant performance from Lally. And Deuce, if you want to start talking about the All-Star game, this is kind of flip flop for me. I didn't watch as much as the All-Star game as I did the home run derby, but what'd you see from the All-Star game?
I mean, in what I did watch, because I'm not gonna lie, I did fall asleep in like the fifth inning. But what I did watch is, man, the National League got some hitters.
Yeah. Pete Alonso,
the game,
baby.
They opened up the game. Yeah, they opened up the game, hitting, swinging, and they got up to an early lead against the American League. Got something in my eye, but they got up to an early lead against the American League. And when I woke up, the American League had came back, and they went into swing offs. And just watching, let me see if I can just think of the name real quick.
Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, Kyle Schwarber. Mm-hmm. Watching him go 3 for 3 in swing offs was just something that I had never seen. And I've always mentioned multiple times, oh my gosh, I got something in my eye. I've always mentioned, like, time after time, like, this is really my first time really watching baseball. This is probably like up there with hockey with the best All-Star break. That swing off was just incredible. Watching all the players interact with each other on the sidelines, getting all hype. But yeah, the All-Star game was just something, as a first-time viewer, like, really watching. That was just something that I want to see again. And it was actually competitive, something that, in my opinion, the NBA needs to take notes of.
Yeah, and
it looked like they were like the NBA and the NFL. These players were actually
shambles with that right now.
Yeah, it looked like they were actually going. I'm gonna say this: they were playing, but they weren't. They were playing a good amount, but still having jokes and still talking along. They were mic'd up during the game. We saw PCA mic'd up with the the broadcast, and that's something that I feel like that the NBA and the NFL just need to take like notes out of, like, hey, we can have all this fun and stuff on the side while the game is going, but our players still need to play, because that is kind of what kept me like I said, I kind of fell asleep. But when I woke up, that is what caught me back in the game, because the American League had came back and caught back up with the National League. Now it sucks that the National I wanted the American League to win, because that's what the Blue Jays are. They're in the American League, but the National League and Kyle Schwarber or Schwarber, however you say his name,
Schwarber.
he went 3 for 3. And the fact that it was still close, and that they still all they needed was just a home run to really tie it up or get back in the game. The fact that it was still close, and they were just they couldn't get it done, is just like that's how competitive it was. But rounding out All-Star break, coming out of All-Star break, a lot of the top 10 has shifted. And I'm just going to give my top 10 because it kind of has shifted a little bit since last week. But at 1, I'm going to give the Tigers still 59-38. I still think that they're the best team in the MLB. Number 2, I give it to the Astros. They beat the Cubs 2-1 in the last series that they played them, and they beat the Dodgers 3-0. Although that the Cubs have Cubs and the Dodgers have a better record than the Astros, you still cannot take away from what you still can't take away from what the Astros did on against those two teams. At 3, right behind them though, will be the Cubs. They beat the Yankees going into the All-Star break, and yes, the Yankees did have a kind of a slight drop off, but it looked like they were kind of finding their footing just a little bit against the Cubs, but they still lost that series. At 4, I give it to the Dodgers. Although they are 4, they are still a top team in baseball. You wouldn't count them out. Shohei Ohtani you can't count that team out. That team is loaded with in my opinion, all-stars, even if they didn't make it. But you really can't count them out. At 5 is a team that really jumped up for me is the Brewers. And their young pitcher, Jacob Mirakowski, kind of got a lot of controversial takes on this weekend about him making the playoffs. I mean, not the playoffs, but the All-Star game. But he is a very generational pitcher. The Brewers the Brewers are just that team that kind of snuck up on me. They're 8-2 in their last 10, and they're just 1 game back from the Cubs in first. So, in my opinion, why can they not be the 5th seed if they're competing with first for the Cubs right now? And they could be a team coming out of All-Star break, just like the Boston Red Sox, that are a team that
10 just wins, baby.
Just keep an eye on them. At 6, I give the Blue Jays. I've been very high on them. Yes, I kind of did eat my words. I'm gonna say this: they lost the Athletics. I ate my words when I said the Rays lost the Athletics and the Blue Jays lost the series to the Athletics. But the the series was still close. I mean, during that series, it looked like a bunch of just innings that the Blue Jays should have scored and they didn't score. All of that, but I still in that division that they're in, you still don't want to count them out. Like Adam said, we got a long series ahead of them. 7, I give the Phillies 55-41, 5-5 in their last 10. 8 will go to the Mets. They kind of had a slight drop off, we said in earlier shows, but they've been kind of finding their footings. They won the Subway Series. I think that's a nice accomplishment for them. 9, I actually give it to the Red Sox. They're 10-0 in their last 10, and all season, this season, they're 5-1 against the Yankees.
Yes, sir.
That is something that, as just thinking about it, you can't sleep on that. The Red Sox are 5-1 against the Yankees. In their last 10, they're 10-0. That's the best record in the last 10 games.
I did not know. That's crazy.
Yeah. They're on the rise. They're really right now. They're competing. They're competing with the Mariners for a playoff spot, and they're just 2 games back up, or 2 or 3 games back of the Blue Jays.
I will say this really quickly about the Red Sox. We do have the Red Sox do have a very hard stretch right after the All-Star break, but we'll just see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I'm not necessarily saying this is going to be like my rankings change week to week. This is just, that week, this is how I saw the teams. And then closing out the top 10, I have the Yankees. I still think that the Yankees are just that team that, they're just still a top 10 team that are going to make the playoffs regardless of how they play, because they always know how to find their footing somehow to get in the playoffs, despite, whatever lineup they have on the field. And they still have the MVP runner alongside Cal Riley and Aaron Judge. So that is something to keep note of. But Adam, I don't know if you have your top 10 this week or.
I didn't make an exact top 10, but I agree with a lot of the rankings you said. I will mention a little bit about the Mariners. They were the 2 series right before the All-Star break. They were swept by the Yankees in heartbreaking fashion. The final game, they were up 5-0, and they had thrown a no-hitter through 7 innings and then ended up losing 6-5 in 10 or 11 innings. So it was a really tough way to get swept. All three of the, well, 2 out of the 3 games were quite close. However, right after getting swept by the Yankees, then they were able to sweep the #1 ranked Detroit Tigers. And that series was, I honestly, I have to go back and watch some of the games because I wasn't able to catch too much while I was in Belize. But at the same time, I was following along the box scores, and it was just a huge team effort from everyone all the way around. It was there. I think one of the games was a 1-run game, but otherwise they honestly kind of blew the Tigers out of the water. So I mean, I don't want to jinx my Mariners, but as far as dark horse teams to watch in the second half, I think you have to put the Mariners in the mix there. Just after sweeping the top team in baseball,
And
the
I like
pitching
that
staff is no. Go ahead.
I really like that like you mentioned like a team to watch out for, because alongside with the Mariners, I would give the Rays, they're a team, another sleeper team that you need to watch out for. The
They're always hanging
Angels,
around.
and the Angels, the Rangers, and the Twins, if they can just get over 500, I believe that may not. They're a team that you just need to watch out for, and not necessarily say, hey, like they're gonna come, get this final wild card spot. But these are some teams that they have pretty good rosters, and they can make a push for that final spot at any given moment. Uh, More, and I'm gonna say this for the Rangers: if the Rangers can just stop being allergic to getting over 500, because they have they have one of the best pitching bullpens in the league, but man,
They
they
do love
can't
sitting
hit.
right there.
Like, man, they just can't hit, and it's like the Rangers will win 2 games and lose a game, then win a game then lose 2 games, and it's like the never-ending stretch of, can you just get over 500? And I'm not even a Rangers fan myself. Like, I watch them a lot because I'm in the DFW area, but even as like just watching it kind of irritates me, just like not getting over 500. They just beat the Astros last series. They beat the Astros going into All-Star break. I mean, hey, that's cool. A lot of Rangers fans are gonna say Adolis Garcia owns the Astros. Hey,
Not
but
this year.
yeah, but just coming out the All-Star break, if the Rangers want to get in the playoffs, they got to be consistent. You can't win a game and then lose 2 games, because every time you win a game and then lose games, you're only setting yourself back. And like I said before, they have one of the best pitching bullpens in the league. And then compared to their hitting, it's just kind of like in the bottom of the league. They're not really the best at hitting. But
Yeah, I think there's a stat that when they get 5 runs, they've lost only like 2 or 3 games this season, something like that. It's crazy. Like if they get 5 runs, they basically win. Just like my final thoughts on the MLB, and then you can wrap up or whatever. Julio Rodriguez has finally been rounding into form. Right before the All-Star break, he got really, really hot. He always is a second half player. As soon as the weather gets hot in Seattle, he starts hitting bombs. And I think it was a smart. He was elected the All-Star game, maybe not deservingly, but he was smart. He was smart, and he backed out of the All-Star game and said, "I'm going to focus on the second half of the season." And what happened as soon as he did that? He was just focused on his game, and he was amazing in that Detroit Tigers series. So his defense is always going to be there, but now the offense is looking like it's there too. And then who took his spot but Randy Rosarina, who I think was even more deserving, and it was still a Mariner that was able to make the All-Star game, who he has like a crazy amount of home runs in his last 10, 12 games. So everyone's really rounding in the form. The pitching staff is looking great now. Still going to get Bryce Miller back. And then really it's just the bullpen has looked absolutely lights out. You got Matt Brash and Andres Munoz on the back end. So, I mean, you'll see when you get into the postseason and get closer to the postseason, it's all those like back end relievers and the pitching staff that really is the consistent backbone of a team. So I really think the Mariners could go on a run, and if they do over these like next 15 games coming out of the All-Star break, it's gonna be a really fun wild card race to watch, because you got the Red Sox, you got the Rays. There's so many teams. You even mentioned the Angels and the Rangers, even if they can get above 500. So it's gonna be a really fun race to watch for sure.
yeah,
I'm gonna start off with Deuce was saying that you can't lose 2 games and win 1 game, and then win 2 games and lose 1, because that's going to affect your playoff hopes, and possibly getting whatever seed you can get to get to 500. But I'm gonna ask you guys this question, Deuce. I'm gonna ask you first, man. So out of the first top 5 teams that you listed, which team do you think is the hottest in your opinion on possibly shooting towards a World Series run and in your opinion? Like out of the first top 5 teams that you list.
I kind of hate to say it, and yes, the Astros did just come out of losing, but man, they got so many players injured, and the fact that they still beating up on these top teams just goes to show that like they could make a very serious playoff push. Uh, Adam, I don't know if you want to like correct me on this one, but how many players do they have that are injured right now? Because I know it's a good amount.
The Astros?
Yes.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but they do have quite a few.
And I
then
know it's key starters too. But
yeah, you're right. Their pitching rotation is very injured.
I know it's the fact that they can, like, all these other players are just stepping up and they still look like the dominant Astros that they were, like in the past season. So I think out of the top 5, that would be my team, like to really kind of like just watch out for, because they can really make a very serious World Series run. I know, like, before I really started like really watching baseball this summer, I kind of wasn't paying attention to the Astros because they weren't the top team. But as I started paying attention more to them, they're a very good team. And I keep dating back to this. If you can go and beat a top 2 team on the road in the Dodgers, that really goes to show something for a team.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as they have Jose Altuve on the team, like he's as much as I like to boo him, and as much as the Mariners fans like to boo him, he is a great player, and I mean, he's got that playoff pedigree. He's got the World Series experience. And then, like, after losing Kyle Tucker, a lot of people thought their offense would take a step back. It did take some time for everyone to kind of get going, but I mean, Kyle Tucker is like a top 4 MVP candidate, which is crazy because Pete Crow Armstrong's probably like first or second in MVP voting, probably maybe just behind Shohei. So it's crazy how good the Cubs are, and losing Kyle Tucker, the Astros are still showing that they're very, very good. I'll say shout out to Hunter Brown, I believe is his name, who has like a sub 2 ERA on the Astros. So he's been like that one consistent force. Like what you said, when a lot of the pitching staff has been missing, that he has been the guy kind of keeping them afloat.
Yeah, and Michael, did you have any more questions before we jump into your little segment?
Ben, who is your? I think you gave your top 5 list, but who is the hottest team to you? I think, Deuce, you said the Astros.
No, the Red Sox. That'd be a perfect question for Benji.
Yeah, I mean, they do have, this hard stretch right after the All-Star break, but I mean, the last time the Red Sox went on a 10-win streak, they won the World Series in 2018. So we'll just see what happens with these next, series coming up. But, I feel like that's what I love about being a Red Sox fan sometimes, is that, sometimes during the years where, we're supposed to be rebuilding, not having a chance in the world to be where we're at, at the start of the season, and then now fast forwarding all the way till now, the boys are hot. So we'll see what happens. They're hitting very, very well right now. I mean, Duran, Anthony's out there. Still have Marcelo Meyer as well. So a lot of super young talent on this team, and hopefully, it'll come, these next upcoming seasons as well. If this year, sort of doesn't work out, I think the Red Sox have a long, future ahead of them, and we'll just see what happens.
Yeah, but finishing out this podcast, college football is around the season or around the corner, really, and we're probably gonna be talking about it a little bit more. But Louisiana Tech has just recently moved from Conference USA to the Sun Belt, with Texas State going to the Pac-12, and in my eyes, Texas State in the Pac-12 is just kind of mind-preserving from how the conference realignment doesn't make sense. You got California playing in ACC, for instance, but I kind of like this move I'm gonna start with my opinion as somebody that's like goes to college in that LA area or Louisiana area. Having like Louisiana Tech was in the Conference USA, so they really weren't playing teams like ULM and Louisiana. Now that they're in the Sun Belt, you're playing the Raging Cajuns, you're playing the Warhawks more often, and that's Louisiana Tech's real rivals right there, Louisiana-based rivals. But Michael, just really like, what is your opinion? Like, just break down and give some more insight on it.
Honestly, man, first thing I'm gonna say, I think it's a great move for Louisiana Tech. Number one. Number two, I think it's a good chance for Louisiana Tech's head coach. I think his name is Sonny Cumby. He's on the hot seat right now. He hasn't really, added a lot of winning depth for the Bulldogs country, and I just think this is one a relief for him to see if he can change or can match up with the Sun Belt Conference teams. Because, like I said, with the Conference USA teams, Tech really wasn't. They were competing, but they were getting beat down by a lot of teams in that conference, and it just gets down to the point where now I think this is a way more better fit for Tech, because not only that, the rivalries, like you said, was between Louisiana and Lafayette, the Raging Cajun Nation down there in Lafayette, and then you got ULM over there in Louisiana Monroe, which is about 30 minutes from my hometown in Ruston, Louisiana. Like the rivalry is just going to add more fuel to the fire in the state of Louisiana, and that's gonna add more attendance crowds. It's gonna more probably possibly some stadiums are gonna be booked. Possibly if possible these two games here might end up being televised. I mean, because it's an intense rivalry. It's an intense rivalry between Monroe folks and Ruston folks and Louisiana folks down there in Lafayette and Ruston and ULM. It's just a huge connection and a bit of little bitterness between both between both areas. So I think this is an awesome move, and shout out to the Sun Belt Conference on voting for this, because I really wanted Tech to be a part of this when I first heard the news about it. So am I expecting some big things? Possibly, but I'm just ready to see this rivalry every year. Tech and ULM, they didn't really play much each other, only by about a few years in the making, and then Louisiana Lafayette, Tech ain't never really played them either. So just imagine all three teams in one state playing each other every year. That is a rivalry to be watching. And if some of y'all do not know, like ULM, Louisiana Tech, the rivalry has been going on for years, and it's not as intense as LSU versus Alabama. It's not as intense as Ohio State versus Michigan. It's not as intense as those games, but it is a rivalry, and at the same time, in my opinion, a rivalry is a rivalry. Whether it's ugly or clean, I mean, it's not as ugly as Ohio State, Michigan, because I don't know what it is about those two schools, but they fight against
They
every
hate
year.
It's
It
on
seems like
state
it's
for those
raw.
schools.
They hate each other. I mean, even the fans hate each other. Oh my god!
I don't
it gets bad.
I don't understand, guys. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but it's not as nasty and vicious as that rivalry is. But it is a good darn rivalry. So I'm expecting some big things for Tech Nation. I think this is going to be a good new chapter for them, and also I think it could possibly help Sonny Cumby, who is on the hot seat because he's been a head coach for about 2-3 seasons now, and he hasn't really been giving out that bowl championship winning team. So this is probably going to be his last shot. Can he be the leader and lead this Bulldog team? Because Tech ain't won a bowl game since 2017 to 18, I believe. So something needs to happen for the Ruston, Louisiana Bulldog Nation, and I think them moving to the Sun Belt Conference, it's a new chapter. It's a very good experience for them to experience a new division and a new conference, but also it awakes the rivalry that we hardly get to see between ULM and Tech versus Louisiana Lafayette. But as a Louisiana guy, this is very exciting in my opinion. It's not like I said, it's not as exciting as LSU and Alabama, but as a Louisiana guy, it's very exciting. And I think a lot of stadiums are going to be booked when Tech officially is Sun Belt Conference members.
Yeah, and just finishing on, college football is 38 days away before our first week zero,
Yep.
and inside the
NFL's
locker room,
52.
yeah, inside the locker room, we will be giving our updates, covering some college football games that go on. But as always, wrapping up this podcast, stay tuned, like, share, comment all of our stuff on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. We've each been doing our respective roles this off season with the posts, with the interviews, and
Yes.
that's all going to be coming to inside the locker room. Just keep doing what y'all are doing. But as always, stay tuned to inside the locker room. We
And
thank
also,
y'all.
folks, we do
Oh,
have, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. We do have the joint stream as well with
yes,
Sports
yes,
Nuts, our
yes. We
great
have a
friends over there
yes,
with Brandon Keeler, Shane, and everybody else. So be on the lookout for that too, guys. It's going to be on the 29th, I believe. And yeah.
And I'm
yeah,
gonna add something to that too. Make sure that y'all. I don't know if any of y'all inside locker room fans, or any of you guys, but don't sleep on these HBCUs, because HBCUs, they are
yes.
they
More coverage will be coming to
yeah,
that this
more coverage.
August.
Yeah, it's gonna be more coverage. I think me and Deuce agreed that we're gonna be, covering a lot of HBCU sports and stuff like that. So y'all make sure y'all stay tuned for that. If you have an HBCU team in your area, go to the games, man. I promise you, you will not regret it. HBCUs games, man, it's actually more better than some of these big schools, especially when it comes down to the band. And Deuce, I know you can agree with me on that. World fame, you got
Yes,
Southern, the jukebox,
yeah.
hey man, I'm telling
Yeah,
y'all,
I
you
most
got
definitely would
two
say
men.
going down to New Orleans every year to play Southern, the rivals that we hate with my
Bayou Classic,
guts,
man.
the Bayou Classic. That's just something that I don't know. You just gotta be there to really
That,
experience it.
that is the most entertaining classic that in HBCU. I personally believe, in my opinion, it's just really going to be exciting. If you don't know what the Bayou Classic is, it's a rivalry between Grambling State University and Southern University down in Baton Rouge. These teams, I think Southern has a 3-game lead over Grambling right now. But
Yes,
if you don't know what the Bayou Classic is, go watch it. I promise you, you will not regret it. The band, the atmosphere, it's a party down there in my city, New Orleans. So make sure that y'all tune in this season, and also don't forget Jackson State versus Grambling State in Las
Las
freaking
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yes, yes.
Man, y'all tune in for that. That's gonna be a crazy game. I can't wait for that to happen. But yeah, man, make sure y'all go watch that game in Las Vegas. I'm talking to all Inside Locker Room fans that are watching us, and I'm also talking to you guys, Adam and Benji. If you don't know what the Bayou Classic is, and if you don't know what's going on in Las Vegas, watch Grambling State and
Nah,
Jackson State,
definitely. I'm gonna
and
be
watch
tuning in.
Grambling and Southern University. I promise you guys, you will
I
not
like all
regret it.
sports. I'll be tuning in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's just a few updates from inside the locker room. But as always, before we close this episode out, stay safe, and just keep subscribing, keep showing the support to our media and all of our stuff. But as always, thank y'all for tuning in, and thank y'all for watching this episode of Inside the Locker Room. Peace
Peace
out.
out, guys.
Peace out. Grace, peace.